At dinner, my sister looked at my son and said, "Some kids are just born behind." Then she laughed. My son quietly put his fork down. I said, "Behind? Like how you and your kids are still in my house and eating my groceries." She froze. Mom whispered, "Please don't do this." My daughter Illa was helping me plate food while my son Jesse sat quietly at the table. He's 12, a little behind in school, but he's trying. He's sweet. He's mine. That's when my sister Erin said, "Casual is commenting on the weather. Some kids are just born behind." Then she laughed. Everything in me went cold. Jesse didn't say a word. He just put his fork down. Mom shot me a panicked look, but I wasn't letting it slide. "Behind, like how you and your kids are still in my house eating my groceries." She froze. Mom whispered, "Please don't do this." But it was already happening. 3 months earlier, Erin's husband kicked her out. I let her move in. Guest room, closet space, study corner for her kids. She never offered to pay for anything. Not food, not utilities, nothing. Meanwhile, she was shopping. New shoes, hair appointments, designer handbags. When I asked how, she shrugged. Mom and Dad are helping. They were sending her money every week. Money she wasn't using to feed her kids. I swallowed all of it until she mocked my son at my own table. Erin tried to laugh it off, said I was overreacting. I looked her dead in the eyes. "If you're so funny, maybe go rent a comedy club instead of living in my guest room." Silence. Then Erin said, "Well, if it's such a burden, maybe you shouldn't have offered." I walked to the kitchen, turned off the stove, and said, "Cool, then consider this me an offering." Everyone started talking at once. Erin was yelling about having nowhere to go. Her kids were crying. Jessie had quietly left the table. I told her she had until the end of the month. I'd help with first month's rent, but that was it. The next morning, Erin acted like nothing happened. No apology, just silence. Then I came home early one Friday. I heard voices upstairs, Erin's and my husband's laughing, not casual laughing. I walked softly to the guest room door. It was cracked open. What I saw made my stomach drop. They were close, too close. He wasn't pulling away. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked back downstairs. When Erin came down, I asked how long it had been going on. She looked like she was deciding whether to lie. Then I saw it, the smug little half smile. That's when I snapped. I grabbed her hair and dragged her toward the front door. She screamed, called me crazy. I shoved her out onto the porch. Then I walked back and punched my husband in the face so hard I felt one of his teeth give. He just stood there bleeding, stunned. I pointed toward the door. By midnight, they were all gone. 3 days later, I was sorting through leftover things when I found an envelope with my name on it. Inside were printed pages, bank statements, screenshots of texts between me and my husband, cropped to make it look like I was hiding things. Each item labeled, highlighted, organized. She had been collecting dirt building a story. Then my phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You won't answer him. That's not fair." 20 seconds later. "You can't pretend this never happened. There are consequences, Grace." I checked the timestamp. She'd sent it 10 minutes before I touched the folder. She knew I was going to find it. That night I wrote out the truth. Everything. The freeloading, the mocking, the affair, the envelope. Then I sent it to the extended family group chat. The group chat lit up. People were furious. One uncle said he'd given Erin money for groceries, only to see her posting spa trip photos. Someone dropped a photo from our Labor Day barbecue. Erin and my husband side by side, her hand on his leg. I let them tear it apart themselves. 6 days later, Jesse came home with a folded paper in his backpack. Erin's handwriting. "Tell your mom I'm sorry things ended this way. I never wanted to hurt her, but she was always the favorite." I texted the school immediately. If she showed up near my children, I wanted to be called. Then I sat both kids down and told them everything. Illa cried, then said, "You should have told me sooner. Felt worse not knowing." Jesse stood up, went to the kitchen, and threw Erin's note in the trash without a word. The next morning, I filed for divorce.